Joaquin El Chapo Guzman is an evil genius. He ran the biggest cartel in the world.
From the depths of poverty to the top of the billion-dollar drug industry, this is a story of how one man rose from the ashes to become the most dangerous cartel bosses in America.
Joaquin Guzman, known to the world as El Chapo, one of the most notorious and bloodthirsty narco criminals of all time.
In the dark and perverted realms of Mexico's drug trade, the name El Chapo strikes fear in the hearts of both friend and foe, an indelible testament to the seductive power of influence and the haunting consequences it entails. Brace yourself for an unforgettable journey into the enigmatic life of a figure whose legacy continues to cast a long, ominous shadow. Unveiling the legend. In the treacherous landscape of the Mexican drug trade, a legend was born. Joaquin Guzman Loera, known as El Chapo, etched his name into the annals of criminal history with a story that captivated the world. From humble beginnings to a notorious drug lord, his rise to power was a saga filled with audacity, cunning, and unrelenting ambition. El Chapo's journey began in the rugged terrain of Sinaloa, Mexico, where he grew up in abject poverty. The son of a poor farmer, he possessed an indomitable spirit and an insatiable hunger for success. Little did the world know that this unassuming young man would become the king of a criminal empire. As the Guadalajara cartel, led by Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, faced internal strife, the stage was set for El Chapo's ascent. In the late 1970s, he seized the opportunity to establish his own empire named the Sinaloa Cartel. With strategic prowess and an iron grip on the drug trade, El Chapo transformed the Mexican trafficking market, forever altering the dynamics of power. El Chapo recognized this insatiable demand and orchestrated a vast smuggling operation that spanned borders. He devised ingenious methods, crafting secret tunnels, hidden compartments in vehicles, and even submersible vessels to transport narcotics across the border undetected. El Chapo's ability to exploit loopholes and outmaneuver law enforcement agencies established him as an unparalleled kingpin. But it was not just his cunning that propelled him to infamy, but his ability to escape the clutches of justice. El Chapo's first prison break in 2001, where he allegedly hid in a laundry cart, astonished the world. It was a mere glimpse of the audacity that would come to define his legend. Just when you thought he had used up his tricks, El Chapo brazenly escaped from Mexico's Altiplano maximum security prison in 2015 and cemented his status as a mythical figure. What method did he use? Well, he escaped through an elaborately constructed tunnel that led directly into his cell. El Chapo vanished into the darkness, leaving authorities and the world in awe. El Chapo's rise to power was not without its share of bloodshed. He ruled with an iron fist, eliminating rival cartel leaders and enforcing strict loyalty within his ranks. Violence became his language, and fear of his currency. The streets ran red as his empire expanded, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. El Chapo's ruthlessness struck terror into the hearts of both his enemies and those who dared to defy him. His international notoriety grew exponentially, capturing the imagination of the public and media alike. El Chapo's ability to evade capture for extended periods and his extravagant lifestyle elevated him to mythical status. Opulent mansions, luxurious vehicles, and connections to high-profile figures further fueled the mystique surrounding his persona. He became a symbol of the untouchable, the embodiment of a criminal mastermind. Terrible things done. El Chapo's empire was constructed on the pillars of drug trafficking, a sinister trade that fueled addiction and left a trail of wreckage in its wake. With an extensive web of connections spanning borders, he orchestrated the malevolent flow of cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine, flooding the streets of nations with substances that ensnared lives in a merciless grip. Families were torn apart, communities were ravaged, and the fabric of society was frayed by the corrosive effects of addiction. Yet, it was not only the scale of El Chapo's operations that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to cross his path. It was the chilling cruelty that defined his reign. Violence became his currency, and he spent it with unwavering brutality. His loyal enforcers executed his orders with ruthless efficiency, leaving a trail of blood and terror in their wake. Massacres stained the land, assassinations struck fear into the hearts of rivals, and gruesome displays of brutality became haunting symbols of his power. Torture was an art form under El Chapo's command, a grotesque symphony of pain and suffering. Those unfortunate enough to fall into his clutches faced unspeakable horrors. Bound by chains of fear, they endured unimaginable torment, their bodies and souls broken in the crucible of his sadistic whims. Kidnappings became a chilling tactic as he sought to extract information and instill terror in the hearts of adversaries. Journalists, politicians, and law enforcement officials lived in constant fear, knowing that a single misstep could lead them into the clutches of this malevolent mastermind. Corruption seeped into the very foundations of El Chapo's empire, infecting governments, law enforcement agencies, and the judiciary. He deftly navigated the corridors of power, greasing palms and twisting justice to suit his needs. The rule of law crumbled under the weight of his influence, rendering justice a mere illusion. The tendrils of his criminal enterprise stretched far and wide, ensnaring the vulnerable and perpetuating a culture of impunity. The collateral damage inflicted by El Chapo was immeasurable. Innocent lives were caught in the crossfire of his insatiable thirst for power. Families were shattered, torn apart by violence and grief. Communities lived under a cloud of fear, hostages to the relentless cycle of bloodshed and instability unleashed by his reign. Mexico's soul was scarred, its identity forever marked by the atrocities committed under his command. Specific tactics used to maintain his power and control. It seems El Chapo orchestrated a masterclass in power and control, employing a repertoire of tactics that captivated the imagination and struck fear into the hearts of his adversaries. With the finesse of a maestro, he conducted a symphony of strategies, each one a carefully calculated move in his ruthless pursuit of dominance. Violence became the dark undercurrent that flowed through El Chapo's empire, a force that he harnessed with chilling precision. His cartel unleashed a reign of terror, leaving a wake of bloodshed and brutality in their path. Massacres sent shockwaves through rival factions. Assassinations struck fear into the hearts of those who dared to oppose him, and grotesque displays of violence became macabre calling cards that announced his supremacy. But it was not only raw force that fortified El Chapo's grip on power. Corruption wove its insidious tendrils into the very fabric of his operation, corroding institutions and ensnaring those in positions of authority. With cunning finesse, he infiltrated governments, law enforcement agencies, and the judiciary, greasing palms and twisting the gears of justice to suit his needs. Also, loyalties were bought, and the rule of law was subverted, allowing his criminal enterprise to flourish under the cloak of impunity. As you know, El Chapo's ingenuity knew no bounds, as he devised a subterranean labyrinth that would become the stuff of legend. Elaborate tunnel systems snaked beneath the earth, facilitating the clandestine movement of drugs across borders. These engineering marvels, equipped with ventilation, lighting, and even rail systems, allowed him to defy law enforcement and maintain an uninterrupted flow of illicit substances into the waiting veins of the market. Strategic alliances and betrayals became the chess pieces in El Chapo's game of power. He forged partnerships with other criminal organizations, strengthening his reach and expanding his dominion. When it suited his interests, He didn't hesitate to turn on his erstwhile allies, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. This calculated maneuvering demonstrated his willingness to sacrifice loyalty on the altar of self-preservation. The media became both a weapon and a canvas for El Chapo's narrative. He skillfully manipulated public perception, captivating the world's attention with his audacity. Through these calculated moves, he sought to cultivate an aura of awe, simultaneously striking fear into the hearts of his rivals and captivating the public's imagination. The hunt for El Chapo, confronting the ghost. In this treacherous game of cat and mouse, law enforcement faced an almost insurmountable challenge in their relentless pursuit of the enigmatic drug lord, El Chapo. It was a battle against a man who seemed to possess an uncanny ability to slip through their fingers, leaving them grasping at shadows. At the heart of the struggle lay El Chapo's vast criminal empire, the Sinaloa cartel. It sprawled across Mexico like a menacing web, its tendrils reaching deep into the fabric of society. The cartel's intricate network of loyal members, informants, and corrupt officials shielded El Chapo from prying eyes and cemented his influence. Breaking through this fortress required extraordinary resources, unwavering commitment, and the courage to confront an organization that thrived on fear and secrecy. Corruption proved to be a formidable foe in the hunt for El Chapo. Money, his weapon of choice, flowed like a river, greasing the palms of police officers, politicians, and high-ranking government officials. So El Chapo's influence snaked through the system, weaving a tangled web of complicity that obstructed law enforcement at every turn. The very individuals entrusted with upholding the law became mere pawns in El Chapo's wicked game. His ability to evade capture proved his cunning and ingenuity. The drug lord was a master of disguise and deception, employing a vast array of evasion tactics that kept authorities guessing. His secret weapon, an intricate system of hidden tunnels and safe houses. These subterranean passages, concealed beneath innocent facades, allowed him to vanish into the belly of the earth, leaving authorities bewildered and frustrated. By the time they pried open the doors to an empty hideout, El Chapo had already melted into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions. The challenging terrain of the Mexican landscape added another layer of complexity to the hunt. El Chapo operated in the rugged, unforgiving mountains of Sinaloa and other regions, where nature herself seemed to conspire in his favor. Dense forests, treacherous hills, and remote expanses created a natural fortress for the fugitive. His intimate knowledge of the land, acquired through years of traversing its treacherous paths, gave him an edge, enabling him to vanish like a ghost, leaving his pursuers to navigate a labyrinth of uncertainty. But the challenges extended beyond physical barriers. El Chapo's reign of terror cast a long, dark shadow over communities, instilling fear and silencing potential informants. His ruthless tactics, which included kidnappings, assassinations, and brutal massacres, left witnesses terrified to speak out. The code of silence he imposed made it difficult for law enforcement to gather the crucial intelligence needed to bring him to justice. El Chapo's iron grip on his empire resonated in the hearts and minds of those who felt they had no choice but to remain silent. The international scope of El Chapo's operations added yet another layer of complexity. His criminal empire extended beyond Mexico's borders, reaching into various countries. Law enforcement agencies had to navigate the intricate web of international jurisdictions, coordinate efforts, and overcome language barriers to track his movements effectively. Collaboration and intelligence sharing became paramount in the global pursuit of a man who seemed to transcend boundaries. Even more daunting was the cult-like following El Chapo garnered. In certain communities, he was a folk hero, a Robin Hood figure who provided jobs and resources to the impoverished. The public's support fueled by tales of his audacity and larger-than-life persona, created an additional obstacle for law enforcement. They faced a populace torn between admiration for the legend and the knowledge that justice must prevail, a delicate balance that required finesse and careful persuasion. Yet, despite the seemingly insurmountable challenges, law enforcement agencies refused to surrender. They were driven by an unwavering determination to bring El Chapo to justice, to dismantle his empire, and to provide closure to the countless victims of his reign. Their tireless efforts, collaboration, and unyielding spirit finally paid off. In the end, on the 9th of June 1993, El Chapo was captured. It was the persistence and dedication of law enforcement that led to El Chapo's capture. The ghost was finally cornered, his empire crumbling around him. Or did it? The capture of El Chapo, shaking the foundations of the drug trade. When news broke that the notorious drug lord, El Chapo, had been captured, a seismic wave reverberated through the underworld of the drug trade. It was a moment that sent shock of uncertainty and chaos cascading through the corridors of power. The impact of his capture on the Sinaloa cartel and the drug trade in Mexico was nothing short of profound. First and foremost, the arrest created a power vacuum within the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most formidable drug trafficking organizations in Mexico. El Chapo's iron grip on the cartel had held it together, ensuring its dominance and ability to control the flow of drugs. But with his removal from the equation, a fierce struggle for power ensued. Rival factions within the cartel clawed and fought, each hungry for supremacy. The once unified empire splintered, giving rise to internal wars that tore at the very fabric of the organization. As the Sinaloa cartel grappled with its internal strife, rival cartels saw an opportunity to seize the throne. The Jalisco New Generation cartel and the Zetas, among others, pounced on the chance to expand their territories and assert their dominance. Turf wars erupted, transforming the drug trade landscape into a battlefield. The resulting violence was nothing short of cataclysmic, with the streets of Mexico becoming a stage for gruesome acts of brutality and bloodshed. The arrest of El Chapo also had a resounding impact on the operations of the Sinaloa cartel itself. Under his leadership, the cartel had perfected the art of drug trafficking, establishing a well-oiled machinery that transported narcotics across borders with ruthless efficiency. But with El Chapo's capture, the gears of that machinery ground to a temporary halt. The loss of his strategic guidance and organizational acumen left a void that took time to fill. This disruption in operations rippled through the drug trade, causing delays, shortages, and a sense of disarray. The Mexican government, emboldened by El Chapo's capture, launched a fierce crackdown on organized crime. The arrest served as a rallying cry, a call to action against the drug cartels that had long plagued the country. Law enforcement agencies intensified their efforts to dismantle the networks, pursuing high-profile targets with newfound determination. Extraditions to the United States became more frequent as Mexico sought to hold cartel leaders accountable on an international stage. But as the dust settled, a new reality emerged. The capture of El Chapo had inadvertently triggered a shift in the drug trade landscape. Cartels, recognizing the vulnerability of high-profile leaders, began adopting new strategies to evade capture. They decentralized their operations, fragmenting into smaller, more elusive cells that were harder to target. The ever-adapting nature of the drug trade meant that the cartel's resilience remained intact, even in the face of a significant blow. The capture of El Chapo was a seismic event that shook the foundations of the drug trade in Mexico. It created a power vacuum, ignited violent clashes between rival factions, disrupted operations, and spurred a government crackdown. But it also revealed the unwavering resilience of cartels, their ability to adapt and evolve in the face of adversity. As the dust settled, the drug trade morphed into a new, unpredictable entity, leaving in its wake a trail of uncertainty and a continuing battle for control. The Great Escape, El Chapo's ingenious tactics to evade capture. In the cat-and-mouse game between El Chapo and law enforcement, the notorious drug lord proved time and again that he was a master of evasion. His ability to slip through the fingers of justice was nothing short of extraordinary, as he employed a range of ingenious tactics to outwit his pursuers. In the year 2001, El Chapo orchestrated one of the most audacious prison escapes in modern history, solidifying his reputation as a master of evasion and leaving the world in awe of his cunning. El Chapo was imprisoned in the Puente Grande maximum security prison in Jalisco, Mexico, after his arrest in 1993. But he refused to accept his fate as a captive. With meticulous planning and a network of loyal associates, he set in motion a plan that would catapult him back into freedom. The groundwork for his escape began long before the actual event. El Chapo's associates infiltrated the prison, bribing guards and officials to ensure cooperation from the inside. They gathered crucial information about the prison's layout, routines, and security measures, identifying weaknesses that could be exploited. On the fateful day of January 19th, El Chapo seized the moment during a seemingly innocuous event, which was the celebration of a fellow inmate's baptism. As the festivities ensued, a laundry cart was wheeled into the prison. Hidden within its depths was El Chapo himself, concealed among piles of dirty laundry where he escaped undetected. The audaciousness of El Chapo's escape sent shockwaves throughout Mexico and the world. Questions were raised about the complicity of prison officials and the extent of corruption within the system. The brazen nature of the escape underscored the lengths to which El Chapo and his cartel were willing to go to maintain their operations and evade capture. This escape catapulted El Chapo into the realm of mythical criminal figures, elevating his status as a folk hero among some and a symbol of lawlessness and defiance against authority for others. It also served as a wake-up call for law enforcement agencies, prompting a renewed determination to bring him to justice. Although this escape showed proof of El Chapo's resourcefulness and the weaknesses of the prison system, it was not the end of the story. Eventually, he was recaptured 2014, only to escape once more in 2015 before being apprehended for the final time in 2016. Final escape. In 2015, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman once again managed to escape captivity, further cementing his reputation as a master of evasion. It was a seemingly ordinary day within the confines of Altiplano, a maximum security prison in Mexico. Guards went about their duties, unaware that a meticulously planned operation was about to unfold. El Chapo, confined to his cell, was ready to execute yet another audacious escape. This time around, El Chapo's associates had devised a plan that would exploit the weaknesses of the prison's security infrastructure. With precision and stealth, they worked diligently, chipping away at the thick concrete walls. Weeks turned into months as the tunnel gradually took shape beneath the prison. It was an engineering marvel, complete with ventilation, lighting, and reinforced supports. The tunnel's endpoint lay in a small, unassuming building a mile away from the prison, his secret gateway to freedom. On the night of July 11, 2015, El Chapo seized his moment. In a carefully coordinated operation, he slipped through the opening in his cell floor and descended into the depths of the tunnel. Guided by the dim glow of lights, he traversed the narrow passageway, his heart pounding with anticipation. As he emerged from the tunnel's exit, El Chapo found himself bathed in the cool night air, his taste of freedom renewed. He had once again outsmarted the authorities, leaving them dumbfounded and scrambling to recapture their elusive prey. News of El Chapo's escape spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of the world. The audacity of his plan and his ability to vanish into thin air left many in awe. authorities launched a massive manhunt, deploying every available resource to track down the fugitive drug lord. Months turned into a year as El Chapo remained at large, evading capture despite the relentless efforts of law enforcement agencies. His escape highlighted the deep-rooted corruption and weaknesses within Mexico's criminal justice system. El Chapo's freedom would be short-lived. In January 2016, Mexican Marines, acting on intelligence, closed in on his location in Los Mochis, Sinaloa. In a dramatic raid on a safe house, a fierce gun battle ensued, resulting in the arrest of the once untouchable drug lord. El Chapo's second capture marked the end of his days as a fugitive. He was subsequently extradited to the United States, where he faced trial and was ultimately sentenced to life in prison. His audacious escape in 2015 had come to naught, as the long arm of the law finally caught up with him. The 2015 prison escape showcased El Chapo's ability to exploit vulnerabilities, navigate intricate tunnels, and elude capture. It further emphasized the challenges faced by authorities in combating organized crime and the ongoing need for prison security enhancements and efforts to root out corruption. Finally captured. What next? After El Chapo's final capture in 2016, he faced a dramatic turn of events that sealed his fate. Following his extradition to the United States, El Chapo stood trial in a federal court in Brooklyn, New York, on charges related to drug trafficking, murder, and money laundering. In February 2019, he was found guilty on all counts, marking a significant victory for the U.S. government's efforts to bring him to justice. El Chapo was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 30 years. Since then, he has been serving his sentence in a high-security federal prison, known as the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility in Florence, Colorado, often referred to as the Supermax or Alcatraz of the Rockies. This facility is designed to hold the most dangerous and high-profile criminals, providing strict security measures and limited contact with the outside world. El Chapo's days as a free man have come to an end, and he will spend the remainder of his life behind bars, ensuring that he can no longer orchestrate criminal activities or wield influence over the drug trade. His capture and subsequent imprisonment serve as a powerful symbol of the relentless pursuit of justice and the consequences that await those who engage in organized crime on such a massive scale. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.